Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Bridge the Gap DFS YouTube channel. We're going to be diving into the Canadian Football Week this week. Thursday is the season opener, and it's a game that a few summers ago I just had nothing to do. I sucked at baseball, basketball had just come to an end, and it was like DraftKings had this big announcement. And it was the CFL on DraftKings. I didn't know anything about it, but I'm like such a degenerate that I was like, let's play, let's learn. And I found it incredibly enjoyable, and I actually really like it. It's a fun league. It's a great supplemental league to the NFL. I really wish that it was more popular in the States, and I applaud DraftKings for bringing the game to us, because it definitely made me a fan of the league, and it definitely holds me over until NFL starts. So I had a lot of great help in this episode from one of my buddies, John Dent. So we'll jump right in. Football A, I'm sorry. I know that's like the laziest, most American title that you can come up with. And I asked one of my buddies, who's Canadian, like, what do you call Americans? He calls them we call them Yanks. So I know it's probably the crappiest title I've had in a while, but I'm so sorry. I know it's lazy, but this is going to be our guide to CFL DFS. It's only on DraftKings, and I'm only playing on DraftKings right now, so all of the content, like everything else, will be applicable to DraftKings. So we'll go ahead and just take a quick review at everything we've been doing the last couple weeks. We did a ton of baseball, and then we jumped into some of the foundational pieces that I think are really important. We've done bankroll management earlier this year, and there's other things that go into making you a well-rounded player. So we talked about contest selection, how to spread out your volume, spread out your variance. The new Fantasy Cruncher Pro, we're going to be diving into Fantasy Cruncher again today. We'll do a tutorial at the end of this episode. And then, just sample size, satellite strategy, and getting a lot of great feedback. So I really appreciate that you guys are digging on some of this stuff, because I know that, what we talk about here is a little bit different than everybody else in the DFS world. And I really appreciate that. We're getting a good response, because I wasn't sure. Dude, just tell me who to play. That's all I want to hear. It's like, sorry, man. You tuned into the wrong channel. That's not what I do. Someone this week was like, dude, I noticed, it's really refreshing that you don't give out any plays. Why is that? It's like, I have a big enough heart attack sweating my own stuff. The last thing I need is someone, MFing me and cursing me out on Twitter because I gave them, I'm on the Blue Jays and the Cubs, and none of them are scoring runs tonight. So it's hard enough watching all my money go down the drain, let alone people getting pissed off or unfollowing me because my hitting recommendations suck. So we'll hop into the announcements this week. Pretty similar to last week. We started the lunch and learns last week. It was awesome. I did 5 last week. I did 4 more today. I overbooked, so I really want to try to do 3. That way, by the time that conference call rolls around, I'm just going to be worthless, and I really want everybody to get my A game. They're 100% complimentary. At the hour that we do, it's usually about 15 minutes, because I usually have to wrap up the last 10 and hop on the next call. But it's 100% your time. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Still putting some things together behind the scenes for the podcast. Got agreement with the local podcast recording studio here in Austin. And Manny, one of my heroes, is going to be the first guest. So I'm super pumped about that. If you guys have any guests that you want to see, planning on doing a Joe Rogan conversational deep dive podcast with some of the best, but also some of the guys that I don't think the masses have heard of, that are just amazing players that I think the world needs to know more about. Content schedule, we'll be doing our CFL intro today. Next week, we'll take a look at SaberSim and some of the improvements that they've made with SaberSim 2.0. I've been working on a series on overcoming the Goliaths of DFS, and what we can learn from the story of David and Goliath overcoming downswings and adversity. And then I think for our 4th of July week, take a look at the free access that Daily Roto gives out every Tuesday and how to take advantage of that. Finally, I got to give a big shout out to John Dent. Just about everything in here he drove the process behind in terms of notes and getting things organized. And I asked him for input, and he didn't go the extra mile. He went like the extra 10 miles. He unselfishly put most of this together so that we could all benefit. So I really just want to shout him out. He's on Twitter at JohnDent7. He also put together, I didn't even ask him, but he put together a supplemental Google sheet for us, like we've done with some of the bankroll and some of the MLB starter packs. So it's essentially going to be, we're calling it a CFL primer, just to give you the Cliff Notes version of here's the teams, here's who they remind us of, and here's, a one sentence bullet point of everything you need to know about the important players on the team. That way, if you're building this week on DraftKings, you have an idea of what you're getting with each guy. I don't anticipate most people are going to MME this week. I think we're probably going to see, a lot of hand building, some single entry, 3 entry, maybe going up to 20 max. And that's totally cool. And you're going to be able to be really, really empowered because of what John put together for us this week. So we're going to hop into our crash course on CFL DFS. I'm super excited that you guys are really in for a treat. Some of the games come on ESPN. We'll probably see 1 or 2 games on ESPN or ESPN. Well, most likely ESPN2, but I think almost all of them are on ESPN3. And if you don't have anything going on, or you're not much of a baseball enthusiast, you don't like watching baseball games. Like, I don't watch any baseball, but I like sweating the games, checking the scores. But I'm definitely looking forward to tuning into the CFL. It's competitive football. It's good football. The players are good. They're not these, what most people think, these guys suck, they couldn't make it out in the NFL. In fact, there's a handful of guys in the CFL that I think are better than some of the players in the NFL, but for whatever reason, the good old boys club nature of the NFL, they don't really get much of a fair look. But there's some straight up ballers in the CFL, and it's a very exciting league. And I'm just super excited for everybody that's here for the first time to check this league out, because playing DFS and watching the games, you'll be surprised how big of a fan you become and what you learn about the game. So we'll hop into our outline, and we'll wrap up our intro, and then we'll dive right into the second piece this week. So pretty much what we're going to do is I'm going to start out, and I'm going to talk to you guys about the differences of CFL from a league perspective, from a fantasy perspective, and we'll cover small stuff, medium stuff, and then the major stuff to be aware of. John and I also worked on team comparisons, so we'll go team by team. There's 9 teams in the CFL, and what we went ahead and did a side-by-side comparison of which each CFL team, which NFL team that they most represent to us. And that could change over the course of the season, but in the current landscape, we go side-by-side, team by team, to help you guys get acclimated of, I don't know any of these players. I don't know anything what's going on. We're just going to give you a macro level. And then as you follow the season, watch the games, play DraftKings, the more you'll understand it at a micro level. So our goal is to educate you guys enough to be dangerous this week, to put together some competitive lineups. And then, again, my goal, I'm never going to tell anybody, I'm never going to give you guys the answers to the test, but I will more than happily help you guys study for the test. So that's what we're trying to do, is help you guys study for this CFL test that we have coming up. After the team comps, we'll go over some lineup construction. I haven't signed up for any CFL contests, so I'll actually walk you through the exact process that I do for everything and signing up for some CFL contests. And then I will walk you through some demos on Fantasy Cruncher to give you just the basics of how to go about building lineups. If you built NFL lineups on Cruncher, it's going to be very similar. If this is your first time using Cruncher for any football season, it's an awesome refresher, practice, getting you ready for the NFL season. So by the time the NFL season rolls around, you won't be rusty headed into week 1. So appreciate you guys stopping by for this week. We'll go ahead and stop part 1 here, and we'll dive right in with the differences between the 2 leagues.